Hi everybody, I'm HoodedGargoyle, your friendly neighborhood gamer, but today I'm not going to be playing a game. I know a lot of my videos lately haven't been like game filled or anything, it's just been a lot of reviews and stuff, but I'll try to get back into like playing games pretty soon. But today I'm going to be talking about the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is a pretty serious subject, given it's written almost 8,000 years ago and was an oral story longer than that. So if you want something that's mostly comical, I suggest you click on a different video somewhere that's along that scrolly bar, hopefully. That's all over on that side of this. Yeah. But this story starts off as a basically it just opens talking about Gilgamesh. It doesn't really hit on the topic whether or not he was a real king or not, so I'm gonna touch on that topic really quick before I start talking about the actual book. Well, it's not exactly a book, but it's hard to explain. Anyways, he is a real king. It's just the majority of what we know about him. He is from the Epic of Gilgamesh, and the Epic of Gilgamesh touches on a lot of gods. I cannot talk. Anyways, it touches on like a lot of gods and how they control the like how like the weather is and like having destinies all set out and stuff and stuff and things. But yeah, he was a real king. Just putting it out there. But basically starts out talking about Gilgamesh and how he's 2/3 god, 1/3 man, which makes him a demigod. And a demigod is a humanoid person that's part god, part human. I'm gonna sort of like Percy Jackson because his mother was human and his dad was Poseidon. And the only reason I'm using Percy Jackson for this is because a lot of people have seen like the movie Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief and or read the book. So that's why I'm using Percy Jackson. But Gilgamesh, Gilgamesh, he was really strong, and he was basically picked out to be the perfect guy ever, which is sort of like today's equivalent to that magazine where it touches on the sexiest guy ever of the year and stuff. Stuff where like I think the last one I saw was like that dude who played Thor in that one movie. And was also in Cabin in the Woods. And not who I would pick personally, but anyways, and he ruled over Uruk, which is the city in Mesopotamia, which is halfway across the world over by Africa. And he basically ruled over it, and the gods thought that there should be an equal. So this goddess made this man Enkidu out of clay and then just dropped him into the wilderness. The clay figure into the wilderness and turned into a man. And he basically ran around with buffalo and gazelle and stuff like that. And this man, it doesn't really touch on whether or not the guy is a kid or a grown-up because it just says man, which I assume he's a grown-up. But he sees him, he's like, that's not right. That guy shouldn't be hanging out with the gazelle because he's taking away from my food and my income. I got to put a stop to that. So he talks to his dad, and his dad tells him to go to Gilgamesh, and Gilgamesh says, oh, I have a perfect plan. Take this harlot. And if you don't know what a harlot is, it's basically a 6000 BC version of a hooker. And so he takes the harlot over to where he usually sees the Enkidu. Enkidu has sex with her and gets rejected completely by the wild. Yeah, gazelle don't like him no more. But the he can't go back to the wild, so he goes back to the city of Uruk, and he wants to challenge Gilgamesh. But the Harlow's like, no, you shouldn't do that. He'll know that you're coming before you even decide, before you even start going there. So he goes anyway, starts hunting for the city so the men can rest. And he meets Gilgamesh. They fought and become best friends. And they go on tons of adventures together. And well, the adventure they go on together. Oh god, my glasses are bothering me because the flash against them is just bothering me and it's distracting me. But they go to defeat Humbaba, which when I first read it I thought was pronounced Hummabubba. Sort of like the bubblegum, like Bubba or something like that. I don't know. I don't chew a lot of bubblegum. But they go off to see Hummabubba. We're off to see the monster, the wonderful monster, the horrible monster of that. The woods. That was horrible. But Hummabubba is basically like the 6000 BC equivalent of Slenderman. The only thing that needs to be put on him is a bunch of tentacles and a suit, and yeah. And so they go to feed him. They take turns chopping at his neck until he drops dead. And on their way back, after they kill him, they chop down the woods. So I forgot to touch on that in my last video. So this is my second record. Never mind. Anyways, they chop down the woods, and on their way back, Gilgamesh bumps into this goddess who wants to be lovers with him. I'm using quotation marks. And he's like, no. Every guy that you've dated has died horribly. I'm not gonna die. I'm too awesome to die. So she gets mad because he pulls out all these names. He's like, and these people died horribly. So I'm not gonna be lovers with you. And so she got mad and unleashed the bowl of heaven on him. They destroyed that too. And then Akidu has this dream/vision where there's like this council of gods and they decide one of them has to go. And then he freaks out and tells Gilgamesh about it. They just head back to the city, and Enkidu gets sick and begins to slowly get sicker and suffer, and eventually he dies. And Gilgamesh took it really hard because he began to fear death, unlike he did before. Now, there's nothing wrong to fear death. I think it's perfectly normal. But like after Enkidu died, Gilgamesh went to go see his god. Literally godfather, because his dad's a god. He talked to his dad, and his dad tells him about the flood that he survived through. And during the flood, his dad was just an ordinary person, like you or me, unless you're for some reason super special, like the people in that one show that Stanley hosted with that super flexible guy who can like fit through a toilet seat in like 20 seconds. But like this guy, the elder. First, let me start off with like about the elder gods and stuff. They got sick of hearing all these people make rackets, so they're like, kill them off. And one god disagreed with that, so he went to Gilgamesh's dad and was like, you need to save some people and yourself and a bunch of animals. And so Gilgamesh's dad does that. And they were at sea for like 7 days, and once the storm was over, he had to start looking for land. And eventually he comes upon this mountain and lands on it. But after this story, Gilgamesh's dad puts Gilgamesh to sleep with this magical fairy dust or whatnot. But we're going to touch on if the flood actually happened before we go any farther into the story. I'm Honestly, I don't think the flood would actually have happened but I'm not sure because the book has not touched on that. I'm sorry my face starts going dark after about 4 or 5 minutes of me talking because that's how my laptop works. And I record all my videos on my laptop. But anyways, honestly the book and none of the books I read about this has touched on this, on the floods and whether or not there's scientific evidence. But like I would suggest like doing something like my history book did and like get all these different scientists like botanists, geologists, zoologists, archaeologists, definitely, and historians to like observe everything from that certain era that the flood was from. And if all signs point to yeah, it's real, the flood actually happened, then everything I've known just been turned around. But yeah, honestly, I don't think that the flood actually happened. But if it did, I'm wrong. I'll be willing to accept that if I am. But now back to the story. Gilgamesh sleeps for 7 days. And every day he's asleep, his dad's wife puts a loaf of bread by his head. But apparently his family's all just too lazy to put him on an actual bed. Great family, guys. But anyways, a loaf of bread gets set by his head every single day he's asleep, and also there's a mark put in the wall. And when Gilgamesh wakes up, he counts the pieces of, not pieces, but the actual loaves of bread. And the older the bread gets, the more nasty it is. And before he leaves, Dad's telling him about this magical flower that lives underneath, like under the water, like in the ocean. And Gilgamesh devotes his life to finding it. And the way he searches for it, he ties rocks to his feet and jumps in. Not exactly how I'd approach the plan, but it worked for him. Okay. And he eventually does find the flower, and for some reason afterwards he decides to take a bath with it. And this douchebag snake smells the flower and eats it. And then a little tinier snake slithers out of the skin like, yay, I'm a little baby again. But not can you do? Gilgamesh starts to cry, and he goes back and mopes around for a bit. But then afterwards he realizes something, that the city that he's ruling is the closest thing to immortality that he ever will have. So he might as well rule it as best as he can until he dies. And according to the story, that's what he did. Now we're going to talk about some gods that were touched upon in the story. My first god, I have like this little paper behind here, so I gotta move my face over here. You can't see my paper, but I can. And I can't remember that much information on my own. Today we're going to be talking, one of the goddess I wrote about is Aruru. She's the goddess of creation, but she's also known as Momentum. Not momentum, but momentum. No, N. And Aruru is also the mother and earth goddess. And momentum decides destinies. But she also helped Marma create humans. And the closest thing to her Greek counterpart is probably Gaia, I think that's how you pronounce it, or Rhea. Gaia is that's how I'm gonna pronounce it throughout the video. She literally is Mother Earth, which is putting together one of the two of the many things she's known for doing, Earth and being the Mother Goddess. It's just putting those two together, making Mother Earth. So. And then Rhea is the goddess of nature, and nature and earth tend to correspond with each other so much. And the next one I'm talking about is Enlil. I think it's pronounced. He's a god that decides destinies. That's his job. But the cool thing about Enlil, which I didn't know until I actually started looking into like what he does and what his name is. And his name means Lord Ghost. That's a cool name. It'd be cool to be called Lord or Lordess or whatever they call she-lords. To be called Lord Ghost. And he has a temple called Mountain House, located in the city of Nippur. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it or not, but there's only like one goddess that like really does really greatly is a really great counterpart to this, and it's Hecate, and saying her name is quote unquote bad luck according to like Greek legend. But Hecate is the goddess of magic, witchcraft, ghosts, and the undead. And that's why I think she fits so well, because of the ghost part. Lord Ghosts and ghosts. They go together. And the last god I'm going to be talking about is Ea. And despite his name, he's a guy. Just saying. All you sexist people out there, it's a guy. Ea is one of the 3 most powerful gods in Mesopotamia. So that sort of offsets his feminine name. And Ea has a lot of associations with magic and incantations. And he's commonly used by priests to, not like he used to be used by like Mesopotamian priests, to banish demons from people and to exile evil things. Because of this, I also think Hecate is a great fit for Ea. Because Hecate is also not only deals in ghosts and the undead, but Hecate also deals with witchcraft and magic, which I did tell you. I just want to like emphasize that. And those are like the gods I'm talking about. And I would honestly highly suggest this story. It's good. Despite its age, it's good. It's relatable. Because everyone's lost a best friend every now and then. And through disputes, fights, arguments. They all mean the same thing, basically. But I'm phrasing it differently to touch on, like, the brainy, not as brainy. But there's nothing wrong with being brainy. I mean, I have a brain. It's just I choose not to use it all the time. But this story was good. It's phrased differently than your modern stories like Diary of the Wimpy Kid or Dork Diaries. Is that what it's called? I only read Diary of a Wimpy Kid. That was only Roderick Rules. But anyways, highly suggested. And my favorite part is like all the parts of like the action. So probably when they were fighting Humbaba, not Hubbaba. Great, I messed up the name in another way. But I hope you liked this. Like, subscribe, comment down below what you think I should do next. I need comments so I can know what I should do next. And hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.